actually the day after I killed mine in Ohio on the 23rd, because I hit him bad, so I let him lay all night. I went and picked him up on a Sunday morning. I didn't go until about 11, but he didn't go far at all. He was dead, but I just wanted to be safe. So we got that deer. We were doing all the pictures and everything, and then it was raining, and it was raining in Illinois. It wasn't raining here, but that rain was coming to Ohio. And I checked my phone in between doing pictures, just took a break. Melody was actually doing the pictures for me. And T-post was hitting a scrape at 8:30 in the morning. And that's the 180 in Illinois. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and it was, red moon phase. So, and I'd already planned on being out there. And so basically we wrapped the pictures up real quick.
Do you feel like you're a step behind when you get that picture, Ben, in your mind, or are you pretty confident?
Nope.
You don't?
Mm-mm. No, because that's just telling me that he's feeling, because a deer like him he just never showed himself in daylight.
Yeah.
So now granted, where that camera was on a mock scrape I'd made was in an area that was very interior.
Mm-hmm.
It was, just outside. It was on the bottom side of when he beds on my farm, where he was bedded. So it was below a heavy cut piece of timber, across a little creek, just down in this little grassy CRP stuff. He hit this scrape, and then I had scrapes up around the food plot and stuff where I would get him in the evenings. And I just knew. I was like, well, he's going to be on his feet checking his core. So I got to get out there. So I packed the truck up. I got to Illinois about 1:00 in the morning, and I killed him the next evening, or that evening.
What do you think motivated that daylight movement, other than you said there was a red moon phase? I'm curious about like what time that was peaking and stuff. And did you also say it was raining on the 24th?
Yeah, it was raining that day
while he was hitting the scrape.
And it was a little cool. So that kind of had him shaken up. It was a little change in weather pattern. You're getting to that time of year where just their hormones are changing. The same thing, a buck I killed years ago that I called high and tight. I killed 2 booners that year.
Mm-hmm.
That deer was doing the same exact thing. I never had daylight pictures of that deer at all. And then the second that I started getting daylight movement of him in the morning, going back to bed, hitting his scrape in the morning, then I knew what he was doing. And what they do is they just basically they just want to tell everybody, like, I am here.
Yeah.
And they start pushing them out.
Yep.
They start moving those other bucks off that they don't want there, because and I started to notice that even on my cameras, less 4-year-olds were around in that area of the farm. They were starting to show up in different spots.
Gotcha.
And they'll tolerate those 2.5s, 3.5s, but they will not tolerate those 4.5s and older. To me, it doesn't seem like, if they're the dominant deer.
So, had T-post been there throughout the summer, or did he kind of move in at some point?
Just sporadically. Like that. Like I said, I just got enough pictures of him to know that he was alive and he was around. And once in a while I'd get him in the morning on my food plot. And so I knew when he was around, when he was on my farm, he bedded tight right there.
Mm-hmm.
The bedding area was close to where I put this little tiny food plot. This basically was a long finger of a big field that went back into a corner, and some nice thick timber on one side, and then some open timber on the other side. And it made a hogback ridge that went right into beautiful bedding, thick bedding area.
Well, Ben likes some hogbacks too. That's we've had some luck with those. What was in that food plot, Ben?
Big time. That one was Last Stand, I believe.
Any idea?
I'd actually mixed a little bit of clover in it too.
Clover. Mm-hmm. Any idea what does that mix consist of? Is it a Nebraska blend or like
It's just like a cereal blend.
Oats and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's got different stuff that I like for the, and it's kind of a all around package. Deer really like it.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Did you end up killing that buck right on that scrape that you had the picture?
No. That one, all that scrape was so I do have a stand close to that scrape down on the bottom. but that was more for like, okay, if deer were cruising heavy, moving around, that was a great spot for those deer to be. But it was so deep that like you're really risking it that early.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like I had a stand and everything set there for emergency type setup,
Sure. Yeah.
Or the Hail Mary.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, there'd be days and I did hunt it after I killed him just because I wanted to see.
Yeah.
I hunted it after I came back to Illinois. I hunted it for a couple of days I just wanted to sit there.
Yeah.
And hunted it one day and had like 7-8 does walk by, a couple little bucks, had a transvestite buck walk by. He had like these horns that were like molded into his head. Like somebody had taken a ball peen hammer and smashed his spikes over and rounded him.
Wow.
It was the craziest thing I ever saw. Like he was wearing a helmet.
Wow.
But, and he was running every doe around like crazy.
Jeez.
But anyways, so basically that was just all that camera was there for, was to give me information, to tell like, okay, that's what he's in that mood, or he's still around, or there's another deer has pushed him out or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, you can't always do this kind of stuff. Like if you don't have the area to do it, or, but when I have the opportunities to get as much information as I can, like on ground that I lease or own or whatever, that's what I try to do.
Sure. So where did you kill him at?
So I killed him actually up top. He come up out that hogback ridge through the oaks and then come right into the corner of the plot where I was sitting. I had him at 15, 16 yards for 5 minutes.
Wow.
He's just making great, peeing down his legs, chewing on the branches, just doing his thing, showing his dominance. He's like, and he was the last deer to move. I mean, like I literally thought it was over for the night. Like, cause I'd seen a lot of different deer, filmed a little bit of chase, and just, that time of year, the bucks coming to the plot. There's a doe, and just go running after him. And I had grunted just a little bit with my extinguisher, trying to, and just tickled the antlers just a little, like small bucks up there, kind of feeling their oak. Cause I'm like, if he's close, if he's bedded where I think he's bedded off this hillside here, he's going to hear that. And that might be just enough to get him to move early.
Yep.
But I think he was already on his feet a little bit in that timber. And I probably had 15 minutes of daylight left, good camera light anyways. Yeah. And all of a sudden I heard the leaves, and I could just tell by the sound of it that it was a heavy deer. And to my left, and here he was coming through the timber.
And do you think his mindset at that point, Ben, was, like you said, more about like feeling his oats and establishing his territory, as opposed to he wasn't up like seeking does necessarily?
No, he didn't give a does. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
At that point, those bucks know, like they're not going to waste any energy on a female deer at that time. Like they know, it's just senseless. All he's doing at that point is coming out there and telling everybody who's the man.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally stood in that scrape and pissed in it and rubbed his legs together, got himself all worked up, chewed that branch, raked the horns in the branch, pawed the dirt like a bull. I mean, he was just like,
man, I think that
almost getting more aggravated by the second as he did it.
Take me